Welcome to the Redemption Podcast with your hosts, Staci
and Julia. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 3 of Redemption. This is your host, Julia.
And Staci.
And today's guest is the Professor of Women's Studies at UAA and the Director of Damsel in Defense Alaska, Tara Lampert. Welcome to Redemption.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you. We have loads to talk about with your career and life. But before we get started, Isaac, do we have any housekeeping?
Not a whole lot going on. The day that this releases is also the same day that Radiothon is going on with Q99.7. So if you're not listening to Q99.7 right now on the day that this released, you should turn on your radio and listen to Q99.7 because we have a bunch of people from here that work here, partner with us, calling in and talking, and it's a good time. So check that out if it's Friday, and if not, then I guess you'll just have to wait a whole year. Sad. On the podcast side of things, My House Podcast, Michelle was on vacation for a week, so we actually missed a week in the middle of there, but it's back next week. Diagnonsense, part 2 with Josh Freifogel just came out. There's one more part to that whole series that will be out 2 weeks from now. That's been a lot of fun so far to listen to. We're probably going to have him back on again. And My Voice also just dropped an episode last week, the first one of season 2, and they have another one on the way already that we'll be releasing next week. So tons of new stuff, all 4 podcasts up and running. It's go check out some of the other ones. If you're just listening to this one, we have like so many other ones that are so much fun too. Listen to all of them. That's all I have.
Thank you, Isaac. I have been listening to all of them.
Good.
They've been really good. The one with Josh Freifogel was very interesting.
See, you haven't even listened to part 2 yet. Because
No,
we're recording
I haven't.
this before, and part 2 is where it gets real spicy. Gets real spicy the next 2 episodes.
I bet.
good.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Tara, thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy schedule to come all the way out to Wasilla and talk with us.
Yes, you're welcome. I'm excited.
Yeah. You have a very interesting career. And when I first met you, like years ago at one of the events that you had a booth at for Damsel in Defense, I was like, oh, this is cool. And at the time, I didn't have any pepper spray because TSA had taken it away from me.
Oh, darn.
At the airport at a trip that I was on recently.
Turns out you can't take that on a plane.
Turns out, I
You didn't have
totally
your travel size
forgot.
pepper spray. You had your full size pepper spray instead.
And so I was like, oh, I should probably get some. And I'm tattling on myself right now. I still have yet to get some, except for I am buying some from you today. So
yeah, I'm happy to get you equipped.
Yeah. So Professor of Women's Studies at UAA, Director of Damsel in Defense Alaska. Those are very specific, empowering missions, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very curious as to how you got to where you are today, starting at as a kid. What were you like as a kid? Where are you from?
Yeah, so I'm the oldest. I think that plays a big part. I'm the oldest in a family of 4. I grew up in Minnesota on a dairy farm.
Oh.
So I am a big animal lover, had lots of responsibilities as a kid, but also had lots of freedom and exploration, and I loved books. I'm a big book reader. My master's is actually in writing, so it's a master's of creative writing. So I came to Alaska in 2001 to get my master's degree in creative writing, and then I continued to pursue a graduate certificate in women's studies. So I've been teaching for the university. I teach women's studies, but I also teach writing classes.
Oh.
And between UAA and UAF, between the two. And also, just recently, I've been teaching ethics and justice, which is kind of random. And then I do teach a human trafficking class for UAF as well. So a little bit of everything. I love the empowerment aspect. I think when I went off to college and started learning way more than I ever got out of high school, I was like, oh, wow, there's a whole other world out there of things I didn't know. And so the women's studies classes and sort of the justice kinds of social justice classes kind of really pulled me in. And yeah, so I just kind of kept going with it in all sorts of different ways.
And you like to teach.
I love teaching. I do. I think that everything that I do has some sort of teaching aspect to it, because with Damsel in Defense, there's the education piece of like, why do I do it here in Alaska? It's important everywhere, but one of the reasons I thought it would be good to do for Alaska is because of our high rates of violence, right? Mm-hmm. Our location, mm-hmm. And all of those things, which I already knew. So that was sort of, when I first learned about it, I thought, well, that would be kind of a cool like side thing to do. And also, I can't tell you how many students have, disclosed personal stories to me over the years. And so that was just sort of one of the other reasons was, well, if I have this something to offer, Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I guess, yeah.
It's all connected.
It is, yeah. And I teach yoga and meditation as well. And I was able to, for many years, volunteered at the women's prison out in Eagle River and taught yoga to those women
nice.
Once a month. So yeah. I haven't gone back since pandemic. Just kind of rearranging my schedule as all of us have, pivoting and rethinking our lives. But it was, gosh, I think I probably did that for 5 or 6 years. Would go out there and teach for them. So
I graduated from UAA in 2021. Fall of 2021 was my last semesters, and I did not take a women's study class. So my first question is, how many guys have you had in your women's study classes?
Oh my gosh.
And my second question is, for people like me that did not take women's studies, why am I wrong, and why should guys take women's studies classes?
Ooh. Oh my gosh.
I want the elevator pitch.
So I do have guys take the class. Not many. Usually in a class of, I think I have about 25 or 30 right now of students in total. And I think there's 3 or 4 guys in the class. So I think what is largely misunderstood is that equality means equality for everyone. And I don't think that men are free of equality. There's a lot of different cages that men are trapped in, hypermasculinity, there's also these social pressures of being in the world. So we unpack a lot of that as well. So there's some aspects of...
Fit right in on Diag Nonsense. This is like everything we were talking about the last 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So we do cover a lot of the history aspects, but it's also gender. It's women's studies, gender studies. So what does it mean to be a man? And how does that impact the lives of women in particular? How does that impact the lives of men? How does equality benefit both men and women and children?
I bet you have a lot of very interesting conversations with all of the stuff that's happening today in today's world. I'm sure that's very interesting. And it's also catered towards Alaska, right? In our unique environment that we have here.
The class itself?
Yeah.
Well,
or even
yes and no.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's the class itself is based on in general, but then because the majority of my students are local Alaskans, so then the Alaska aspect filters in. So,
How about with your sex trafficking class? Is it is it sort of like Alaska focused, or is it also just all over the world?
Everything actually. So how I've developed that class is starting out broad, because that's usually what folks know about trafficking is, this is something that happens other places.
Right.
So I often start off the class with sort of a global perspective, and then we hone it in on the U.S. and what does trafficking look like in the U.S. and then what does trafficking look like in Alaska.
Yeah.
Can you paint a picture of that for us? Because I have
We're asking you for all of your elevator pitches for every
Yeah.
single class.
Yes.
What is a full
Do I need it?
semester
I guess
look
I
like?
need. I'm looking for enrollments. No, I'm just kidding. So from some broad U.S. and local. So we were talking earlier. So globally, it looks different. Human trafficking in Eastern Europe, for example, versus a place like Cambodia, just all sorts of, in some of those countries, it's really a survival. There aren't many choices, and there's the need in the and in some places the law enforcement is involved in a negative way, right? That's perpetuating. And then places like the U.S., we have different situations like particular hubs across the U.S. that are higher than others based on location. It might be something more like luring somebody in through social media.
Right. That's, I'm sure, like increasing in numbers is, how bad trafficking is getting because of the internet.
Yeah. When I teach kids and say, or parents even, and say, hey, your kid doesn't even have to leave the house to be trafficked nowadays.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's that. I mean, there's been cases in Alaska that, people have been trafficked from Texas, for example, or, other places. And so, and so just kind of thinking about in the U.S., how things are happening in our neighborhoods and in restaurants. And, I know we're kind of talking about sex trafficking, but there's work or labor trafficking. I mean, and how is labor trafficking different than like there's those kinds of conversations. But also just an awareness of what it looks like, because we have this sort of preconceived idea of somebody's going to take you and like force you. And sometimes it's like, no, actually it's just, surviving out there. You might need to do something just to have a roof over your head or whatever. So,
and you don't even know you're being trafficked.
Right.
Like you're not educated.
Because you're not educated enough to know what trafficking is. That's like, oh, I didn't even know that. I remember having someone tell me that their mom was allowing her mom was allowing the boyfriend to have sex with her for drugs. And that was just like, she was young and she didn't really know. And so on one hand, child abuse, yes. But at the same time, I'm like, well, there's an exchange of goods here. This was trafficking as well. So not even realizing like, oh, I didn't know that was what was really happening, or another layer of what was happening. So, And then here in Alaska, we have, so much. We're just such a transient location, for one. So it's people come and go so often. People can often get lost here, right? So many missing people. And then I think also we have such and this, kind of gets talked about so often, but we have so many rural locations, and sometimes things like trafficking would be normalized, or a sexual assault normalized.
And then not talked about.
And not talked about.
And it's actually generational here, too. And here in Alaska, our sexual assaults are 4 times the national average, and our child sexual assaults are 6 times the national average.
That's astounding, because the national averages are astounding as they are.
Exactly.
Yes, and so just, again, it kind of comes back to that just awareness and knowledge. And I know that in some cases, things happen rurally, and somebody may come into Anchorage or come into Fairbanks, and it's actually better here, even though it is still trafficking. It's like, well, they're being treated better because they're getting the grooming aspect, right? It's the, fancy clothes and haircuts and nails and all that stuff.
Coming into the city
and getting pampered. And so it looks, that's just the trauma bonding aspect of it, I think, that we see more in, maybe not more in Alaska, but it's very prevalent because of the rural aspect and the city aspect.
So, and then I was talking to you yesterday on the phone about just like general areas to be aware of in Alaska that I think would be really helpful for parents and people to just kind of be aware of. You're talking about a couple places in Anchorage that are like primetime hotspots for traffickers.
Yes, that nobody wants to admit or acknowledge, but it's true. I think I live in Anchorage, so I'm not familiar with the valley as much, but just transient locations such as where people would be coming and going. Airport, for example, in the transit centers, like the downtown transit center and the Diamond Center in particular. You can see a lot of traffickers kind of floating around in those places. So, just really important to have your, awareness up when you're,
I think in the Valley it's more internet-based with ads and stuff.
Okay.
So when did you become a professor at UAA?
2006.
Okay. And when did you join Damsel?
2014.
Okay. So you're just full-time, teaching, kind of immersing yourself in that community, and then you found Damsel and you're like, this is, something that is like right up my alley. Yeah,
pretty much. I mean, I'm an adjunct professor, so I don't have, I'm always dipping my toe in lots of different things. So, and I also have ADHD too. So like, there's like, I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do this, and yeah, squirrel. But yeah, I never thought I would do something like this. Have you know, a side business that was. I mean, when I was a kid, my mom did. When I was a kid, I remember like Avon, you know, coming to the door.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it was always fun, but I was like, I never thought I would ever do something like this sort of side business. But it made sense. I mean, I thought, well, this is something that I can back up and get behind. And I think if you personally feel a passion for what you're doing, then it's going to just be easy. So, so I joined. I learned of the company, and I signed up and didn't really know what I was doing, but I thought, well, I'll just give it a go. And sometimes just those things are serendipitous, and I just took off with it.
So for you guys out there listening, you don't know, but here on our table, we have a lot of different gadgets that she sells, and I think she's going to go over them, but I'm super excited about some of these, especially for Christmas gifts for all of my daughters and my daughter-in-law and learning how to use them. And I'm just super excited about that. And I'm really excited to hear about the survivors' success stories of using these products too.
Yeah. Well, first of all, what is Damsel in Defense? For those who are listening who don't know.
What is Damsel in Defense? So we are a company. We're based in Boise, Idaho. And then I joined up in 2014 and have been trying to do my best to equip and educate and empower the women of Alaska as best I can. And so it's a party plan model company. So if you've ever had an in-home party, like Pampered Chef, for example. So we do the same thing, but it's with self-defense products. So I have...
Love it.
So we sell stun devices, pepper sprays, striking tools. I've got children's books on safety that I brought in today, and a whole gamut of things safety for your car. We have a few products that actually are GPS linked. So if you used it, it would be, could notify someone that you needed help.
I saw that on the website.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. We've got a couple. We have a pepper spray and we have an alarm. And so the idea here is this is the products that we offer from. They're not solving the root of the problem. It's always sad that we need to have these items, but then on the flip side, this is reality. And so to be able to offer something for people that can potentially save their lives or protect them from situations kind of gives me, it just empowers me to be able to empower other people, and I am a person who lives alone, and living in Alaska. I mean, of course we have 4-legged predators too out there, but that prevent me from wanting to go out and do stuff, but also just being by myself. If I want to go downtown, it's I want to be able to go downtown. I want to feel like I'm locked in my house. So I want to feel empowered, and I want to feel safe, and I want to be able to do what I want to do. So that's. I'm probably not answering the question directly, but
that's great. I lived downtown Anchorage for 5 years, from the time I was 18 until I moved here. Is that the right number of years? I don't know. I think so. I'm 23 now. And I've had my fair share of experience and encounters downtown where one time I was chased by somebody.
Oh my gosh.
All the way to my car.
Oh,
and
me too.
I had, we've both been chased. And I didn't have anything on me.
Me either.
And I was not prepared. I never really was. I just had this false sense of security or safety. And I was a fast runner. But I made it to my car, and I get in the car and shut the door, and the young man who was chasing me came all the way up and started ripping on my door handle and ripped part of my door handle off.
Oh my God, that's wild.
So,
that would stick with me.
And I also, I've always lived by myself. And so that constant, I'm always on high alert. Mm-hmm. And if I feel like I'm prepared, or, I know how to protect myself, I feel a lot safer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm really excited.
We're going to get you protected today.
Yes.
Yeah, I often talk about it it's a form of prevention. So no different than having a fire extinguisher in our house. I hope I never need it, but I have it in case there's that situation where I do. Right. And it breaks my heart. I have so many folks come to me after something has happened. Like, I was chased on the coastal trail, or this person was in the parking lot, or, you know, this happened to me in downtown at the Fifth Avenue Mall, you know, something, and then they come to me for something. And I remember having a gal in particular, she's like, I have gone to your booth countless times and I've never purchased anything. And there she was at my front door, actually, getting something because she had had an encounter with somebody on Chester Creek Trail in Anchorage. And she was terrified and didn't know what to do. And, you know, so I just use that kind of as an example of, like, right. I hope you never have to use it, but I'd rather you have it, and rather than the other way where you are wishing you had something and then coming to me after the fact.
Right. Do you have any good stories of when they were prepared and something happened?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had, people don't always come back to me and tell me their stories. But the number one thing I get from people is they just feel more confident. They feel naked if they don't have, like, or if they lost at the airport, like you were saying, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, I lost it, or it got taken away, or I don't know where it went. Like, I need it to get, you know, just to have a peace of mind. So it's probably the number one thing I get from people. I have had people come and tell me their story of having to use something, whether that was, I think there's been 2 or 3 people in gas stations that have had to use something, on trails.
Those are like the most common.
Yeah, in parking lots too, yeah.
In my personal experience of sketchy situations where, like, I was even running one time on the coastal trail, and there was a guy literally just walking around with a knife. And I was like, do you dare? Like, I was staring at him in the eyes like, don't try. But, you know, I got around him so fast. And the gas station, the Holiday gas station downtown, is always fun.
Yeah. I actually just stopped there on my way here to fill up my tank. The place by my house was... Their pumps weren't working, so I was like, well, I guess we'll have to go to the one on the highway. But but yeah, so I mean, the number one thing I teach people is just situational awareness and knowing, you know, paying attention. Basically, that's like our number one personal self-defense, of course. But to have a tool is always a benefit to, you know, be able to take care of a situation. Even just, you know, I'll share with you the stun guns, but the noise alone is enough to deter even an animal. I mean, a lot of people carry them just for animals, for walking and dog issues, or
are they loud?
Issues.
I wonder if we could turn one on into the bike really quick.
Can we please?
And
Let's see.
If it doesn't work, then I'll edit it out.
We can try it. Yeah. It'll probably.
Let's break out
See.
the big guns.
So
that's my favorite one, by the way.
This
it's
one?
lavender.
Oh, you guys, everything is so
accessory.
cute.
So for when they have a nice bright flashlight.
Oh,
so
nice.
the light itself, if you have this in your hand as a flashlight.
Oh,
now
when you're walking, it looks like a flashlight.
Yeah.
Okay.
For one, your stun device is already in your hand. You don't have to fumble around to be like, oh, wait, where is my...
I'm plugged in.
Yeah, I've got it ready. The light itself can be used as a deterrent by shining it in somebody's eyes and disorienting them. And then if you had to use it, you push this top button. This is what it sounds like. Are you ready?
Wait, put it up to next to the microphone.
I'm guessing it'll pick it up.
Yeah, I don't know how
you
close
don't really
we want to go.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's going to pick that up.
Do you want it closer?
Yeah.
No, that's good.
Okay.
I could hear it.
So the noise itself usually is enough. Most of the time I've had people come back to me saying that the noise is what they had to use. They gave some warning shots and that person took off. Or
Does it knock someone out?
Potentially. It just there's a lot of variables. Okay. So like how long of a contact you have.
And where the contact is,
where
maybe.
the contact is.
And through clothes.
How big the person is as well.
Mm-hmm. A muscly person will probably go down quicker.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good.
So, I mean,
I figured I figured it would be the opposite because they're bigger, you know.
Well, electricity conducts with water, and so
got it.
The more muscle and the more water in the muscles, if you're a bit more.
Can you explain to me really quick? What's the pokey thing for?
The
Looks
pokey
like,
thing.
Voldemort's wand.
Yeah. So, what do we have in front of us? We have a stun gun.
Mm-hmm.
We have what else?
A pepper spray and a Kubaton.
Okay.
Kubaton.
So this pokey thing that you're asking about, stabby, stick, shake, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
It is technically called a Kubaton.
Okay.
And so they're a close encounter striking tool that you would use. It's like a force multiplier. So this pokey end or the blunt end, either one will work.
Okay.
Jab it into a person's body. Any pressure point. If you want to get technical, there's 1,000,001 YouTube videos out there, but really hit any. I always say hit anywhere you can. If the heat of the moment, you have a few split seconds. Just
go for it.
Yeah, go for it. Rib cage, sternum.
Okay.
You can scrape it down somebody's knee.
Okay.
Or thigh, I'm sorry, across the chest. I always think, like, if it were me, I would hope that I would think about taking out their knee so then they can fall down.
Oh,
Like you just get them in the back of the knee so then they just and I can get out of there.
It's a nice long recovery, too. That's your deterrent for next time, too, is how long that person has to be in the hospital after they get picked up by the police.
And these are made out of aluminum, so they're very strong.
Okay.
So you can also use this to punch too. So because you have this in your hand, if you were to punch somebody, you're stabilizing your wrist and activating these forearm muscles. So it's a little bit more power behind your punch as well.
Cool.
So
Doesn't protect your knuckles, but
it's better than like a car key. So many people have carry a car key between their fingers.
Yeah, that's what I did when I got chased that night in Anchorage. All I had was a car key, so I was just running like this, going, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, it's better than nothing. Definitely better than nothing.
Yeah.
But there's some challenges with that in terms of getting caught open or breaking the webbing of your hand and stuff. So we recommend holding it like this.
Okay.
You can also hold it this way and do like an upward jab.
Okay.
oh yeah.
Stacy's out. No one can see. Stacy's already
Wait,
practicing.
why don't I have one in my hand?
Yeah, there you go, Julia.
Ooh, I like the black and red one. You guys, these colors though are amazing. There's some sparkly pepper sprays that are like glam and glittery.
And it's got this really cool wristband that you can wear on your wrist, and it all holds everything. It has this little fluffy
Pom-pom.
pom-pom, which is so gorgeous.
Or a tassel.
Yeah, pom-poms
Oh,
are
a tassel's pretty too.
Yeah, so sassy.
I always say, like, if you like what you have, you're more likely to carry it.
Yes,
Right?
true.
So if you're like, oh, I'm excited about this, then I'm going to make sure I have it with me and share it around and, like, show everybody. So the other item that I have on here is going to be a pepper spray. And just, I guess, some information about the pepper spray that we offer. It's has a UV dye in it that will last up to a week under black light. So if anybody does get sprayed, law enforcement, it's kind of helpful for identification.
Oh, wow.
It's also pretty hot, 2 million Scoville heat units.
So do all of the pepper sprays, even the little ones you showed me, have the same the UV stuff in it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep, all of ours are the same. So it's all the same pepper spray. And even in this little pouch, it's the same exact pepper spray inside.
Oh,
it's just different casing. So yep, it's just
And
a
the
matter of
same
how you want
amount.
to carry it. Yep, same amount. Mm-hmm.
And it'd work as a bear deterrent too, right? Is it?
Well,
Yay, nay?
yay, nay. So I would recommend actually using bear spray.
Bear spray.
Yeah, this is
Sweet. I'll edit that part out then. Then no one will ever know that I was super wrong.
no. I can tell you why if you want to keep it in, but because I get a lot of people who are like, "Oh, I want some bear spray," and I'm like, "Well, because one of the reasons is this shoots out straight in a straight stream. It's meant for humans, so you want to go across the eyes, nose, mouth. Yep, eyes, nose, mouth. So it goes straight. Whereas bear spray, bear spray is a different chemical combination. And it also goes out in a cone shape. So it's meant for animals, right? Because bears are going to be squirrely and be all over the place. And so, and also a can of bear spray is going to have a lot more quantity and it's going to shoot a lot further than the pepper spray that's meant for humans. Now, granted, if I was eye to eye with a black bear and that's what I had, that's what I'll use, right?
Right, exactly.
But I wouldn't purchase our pepper spray for bears.
Does it affect them to be in the heat or the super cold that we have here?
I do recommend bringing it in. I mean,
bring it down.
It's not ideal. I mean, if you're out on a walk or something, and you have it in your hand,
but not
that's fine,
stored in your car where it's like super cold or even super hot.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay.
If it's something end of the world, but to keep it in there. But I personally would recommend bringing it in and out. So if you have it on your keys, it's always going to be in and out, or if you have it in your bag.
Okay. Got it.
But yeah.
And is there a website that we can link in the description that everyone can look at all of these products on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have a personal website. It's damselindefensealaska.com. Gotcha. And that links directly to my my site.
It's a nice website.
Thanks.
And you're going to be at a couple events.
Yes.
You're always at events.
I try to do as many events as possible. It's one of my, it's my happy place. So yeah, next weekend, Matsu Marketplace. It's the holiday market out at Menard Sports Center. November 5th and 6th, we'll be out there. And then the other event that I'll be at in the Valley will be Colony High School Christmas Bazaar. That's the Saturday after Thanksgiving.
That's like literally like tomorrow. I feel like.
And then where else will I be? I will be at the Diamond Center in Anchorage a couple of weeks in December. I think December 11th to the 22nd. It's a two-week run at the Diamond Center. And then I don't know if you have listeners in Fairbanks, but I'll be in Fairbanks at the Carlson Center the weekend after. So it'll be November 12th and 13th, 14th. That weekend is a 3-day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So that weekend I'll be up in the Carlson Center.
Does Damsel in Defense also teach any kind of self-defense classes? Or
so I've done some personally. So we don't. Some consultants are true self-defense instructors.
Oh, okay.
I always ask, like, what kind of self-defense are you asking about? Because self-defense could mean just something that I offer, which is more like, here's a class-based, situational awareness, and what would you do if this, and what would you do if this, and like practice using a Kubotan, practice spraying pepper spray, practice with the stun devices. I have partnered up with folks who teach Krav Maga. I've partnered up with folks who teach firearm safety. So sometimes that's what that looks like, but I personally don't teach like a hands-on self-defense. Like if you're like trying to get out of a chokehold, that kind of thing, I don't teach that myself. But I know that some consultants do have that background, and maybe that's why they joined Damsel in Defense. Like they were already doing like self-defense, and they're like, oh, this is actually great. I'll add this to my repertoire. So that's what's lovely about having a side business, is you can kind of work it in however you want that works for your life and your interests. So
okay, cool.
Yeah,
I was curious. Just I wasn't sure, because I know. I don't remember what I saw on the website. So, but I do know that you guys also partner with a third-party organization called Destiny Rescue, and that has a very similar mission to what we are doing here with our human trafficking program. Yes. So, what can you tell us about that?
Yes. So, I can't remember what year I have written down here. In 2014, 2015. Damsel in Defense partnered with Destiny Rescue, and we have safe houses one safe house in Cambodia and one safe house in India for girls who have been sex trafficked. So one of the sort of missions of Damsel in Defense is to help women around the world who are sex trafficked, and provide them with skills and empower them to be in or not be in that life.
Yeah. Start a new life.
Yeah, and empower me. I mean, I think it was a couple of years ago, we were all like rallying to get, they had a list of like things that they needed, like bicycles and, just things for the kids to have. And so it was really fun to be able to promote that and like say, hey, like, your purchase, like all of the purchases from Damsel in Defense of proceeds go towards, running our safe houses. But it was also nice to be able to go, oh, well, this is actually what they need, a bicycle or, some new clothes and coats and things like that. So
personally, I really love that about this company. And that's probably why I'm going to buy quite a bit of Christmas gifts today.
Oh, thank you.
But yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really empowering. And I think with Damsel in Defense, your purchase itself protects you here at home. And then, we're also protecting people around the world. Yeah. The other thing that aside from just focusing on sex trafficking and human trafficking, is we also have a program called Safe Hearts for Kids. And that is because the products that we offer for protection, you have to be 18, 16 in Alaska to have pepper spray. And so we know so many young kids have situations, right? And we were talking about, child abuse in Alaska in particular. And And so this program was developed many years ago to be able to empower our kids to use their voices and to speak up and protect their hearts. And so we have several books where the characters have something to navigate. So whether that's,
take a look at it.
I want to take one too.
I brought a few here for you. But Chase's Champion, that one is a really great one. It's a family situation where the little girl has to speak up for her cousin. And then Madison's Big Brother that you have there, that's a saying no conversation. So the young girl goes to her friend's house after school, and the big brother, she has to say no to him when they're playing video games. It's just something really like things that would happen, So often we think strangers, right? But so often it's not strangers. It's people that we know and trust and have relationships with that then have, maybe cross boundaries. And
because they're the adult.
What ages do they recommend for these books?
I think any age, honestly, but any, I would say ranging from, 3 to 12, 13, 14.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Each story is going to, the main character might be of a different age, but, But yeah, I've had people who, even there's one that's, about going to the bathroom by yourself, and like that's even something that you could think about for a 10-year-old or a 5-year-old. It doesn't matter.
Right.
There's situations, and it's not like, I think so often people think, oh, you have to have like a talk, but this is a continuous conversation. You can have these conversations over and over because you're not going to, it's almost like having to take your CPR class every year, right? Like it's like, okay, you got to just remember, like, get the wheels rolling again of what the situation could be. So, but yeah, I really love the Safe Hearts program and do everything I can. I do some kids safety classes too. So
okay, is this on your website as well? The books?
Yep.
Okay. Great.
They're excellently illustrated.
Yes, they are.
They're really, really nice.
They're amazing.
Children's books.
I'm
extremely impressed. I've never seen anything like this.
I've had a lot of people tell me that there are some out there similar, but they're real clinical and maybe not quite so accessible, and maybe it's even uncomfortable for the parent to read it, whereas our books are they really allow you to navigate and allow the kids to lead. The kids are going to have questions. So like allow them to ask the questions from whatever comes up from the books. I always recommend having a parent or guardian read the book first and then sit down with the child, because just so you're prepared and okay, this is where what's happening in the story. So then, you can better answer the questions that the kids have. But it's super empowering for the kids, I think. And there's superheroes inside the books. And so each story, the story sort of stops and then a superhero comes into the story and helps the child navigate the situation. And so, and kids love superheroes, so who doesn't love that? So I think that it's really, really great for family conversations.
Yeah, makes that conversation a lot easier to have or navigate.
Yeah, I think so.
Otherwise, it's not like the talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a gal a couple of weeks ago at an event, and she was like, oh, those are such a good idea, but I can't have those conversations. And I was like really heartbroken. I thought, oh gosh, this, your kids deserve that though, So
it's really important this day and age to have those open conversations with our kids, because they're going to be faced with situations all the time, especially online. They're all online all the time now. And they're going to face those. So it's super important. If you can't have that conversation with your kid, then find these books or something like this that can, because it might just really just save them. I'm super excited about these more Christmas gifts. So
this whole podcast is just a ploy so Staci can do all of her Christmas shopping right now.
But it's really great stuff, guys. You really need to check out her website. I'm super excited about all the products, the kid books. I am so looking forward just to learning to help my own children to feel safe and empowered, especially in this day and age in Alaska or wherever they move, going off to college or, starting a new school. It's just everyday living, but this is super important. Personal safety. I mean, that's right there, number one, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Super excited. I'm so thankful you found her, Julia, to bring on the podcast.
I'm really, really thankful that she said yes. So, I just bet you have so much fun. This is an amazing career that you've built and developed for yourself. And I'm sure that like you just feel like you have a lot of purpose in doing this and the relationships that you've formed throughout your career. So
yeah, I'm definitely thankful. It's definitely very rewarding for me.
And so today you are teaching online still and running Damsel in Defense. What do you got working on next?
What does the future hold?
Yeah, what does the future hold?
That's the $1 million question, right? For all of us, what do we do next? So I guess just continuing, I see myself as an educator. So I've had a lot of requests from people to offer some of the classes that I offer through the university to offer them to the general public. So one being the human trafficking class in particular.
Yeah.
So
I would take it.
So possibly developing just a general class for people just to have the information, I think is helpful.
Yeah. Please let me know if you do that. Okay?
Yeah, I will for
I'll
sure.
promote that for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. My probably all-time goal is just to travel. So keep working independently so I can do all the travels that I want to do.
Do you get to travel a lot? Do you travel a lot?
I tend to, yeah.
Cool.
Funny enough, yeah. I mean, I try. I don't know in comparison to other people, but
Speaking of travel,
yeah.
can you put this in your checked bag?
You can check it.
Okay,
Yes.
cool.
Okay.
But don't take pepper spray on the plane, Julia. They frown on that. I promise you it won't make it through.
Or your zapper.
Yeah, you can check. You can check them.
Okay.
What I would say is that there are a handful of states that do have restrictions, so it's always a good idea to double check where you're headed. But I would say the majority of states you're totally fine. And then if you the Kubatons, the stabby sticks, they're good in all 50 states. So,
Okay, great.
That's the one thing you can always have with you.
Okay.
Of
That's
course, in
the
a
most
checked bag.
intimidating to me is the stabby stick. I don't know why.
Well, it's because we never think about like I don't really want to fight anybody
I
off.
don't want to
So
stab anybody, but
yeah.
But now you can.
But now you can. You have the option. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Tara. And we're gonna include a link to your website as well as a link to that video for the Damsel House,
Yes.
so that people can watch the video and learn more about that project and even how they could like donate or get involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, so a couple of ways. If you did order online, there's a little box in the checkout that says you can donate to the Damsel House directly if you felt inclined. And then another way that you could get involved is becoming a Damsel consultant yourself and helping promote the products. And that could also give you a sense of purpose and help the Damsel houses and help people in your community.
Awesome. Way to plug that in.
yes.
Well, on that note.
Yeah. Well, we have one final question for you today. Yeah. So our podcast is called Redemption, Loved and Thriving. And we like to ask our guests at the end, what does the word redemption mean to you? And it means a lot of different things to different people.
Yeah.
So that's your question.
Yeah. I think redemption is just coming back to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think sometimes so often in our lives we get there's so much information coming at us all the time, and coming back to the core of who we are and what we want for ourselves, and and going for it.
Absolutely. Well, Tara, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for spending time with us and going over all the products. And
I appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll all be going to your website here right after we get off. So, yeah. Well, thank you.
Yes, of course.
Well, if you or someone you know are a victim of sex trafficking, please call 1-866-733-7878 or text HELP to 233-733. For local services here at my house, you can call 373-HELP. That's 373-HELP. Remember, if you see something, say something. This is Redemption, Loved and Thriving. Until next time.